All right, let's kick off with today's session, going through the usual watch lists and mark any moves that may deserve some attention. Most of these would repeat what we saw yesterday. There has been some serious move pre-market with the news from a temporary truce, but let's see which stocks could potentially be very well exposed to gain in the next couple of days. Yeah, Agro definitely looks like one. It's getting some nice tight base, and now with this news, maybe it has some leg power to run. That actually looks like something which is quite nice. It keeps on running the 20-day. It had a good EP. I actually got shaken out. I initially entered somewhere around 350 something, not really remember, and then it dumped. It was quite an ugly bar. Basically, this thing it dropped 20% out of nowhere and shook me out, but then it reclaimed and finished the day quite strong. But I never really re-entered. Now may seem like a good time. You have a nice tight risk, so even if it breaks below these levels, it's still one ADR. And this one can definitely move. So deserves a watch. Yeah, that's a good one. Nice tight base. Also cycling towards the moving averages. It's not a leader, um, but it shows some relative strength compared to the market. Yeah, nothing special. Still, majority of the charts are quite broken. Bloom Energy had something special here. It showed a lot of momentum as compared to the market, but then it just faded. I see that it has gapped the pre-market, but then this does not look like a base yet that you would like to start a solid move from. Yeah, this one looks nice. Strong first leg, almost 75%, 5, what is it, 6 times ADR. Now it seems like it's setting a tighter range. So let's see. You might have a good risk reward here. Deserves a watch. Right, so normally if you want to be positioned in trades like this, you need to pay attention, right? So a stock like this, a move like this, deserves the analysis. Like if you are theoretically to think, where could have I entered this setup? So one obvious one is here. And so basically this is what your setup would look like, right? In a way, it's somewhat similar to what we have on this one here, right? Nice tight first flag, and then you have some kind of basing. It's not exactly the same. The core principle stays. You have the first leg, and then you had a couple of days of basing around. On the hourly, it's a bit more evident. So that's a potential entry. Another one theoretically might be, depending on your risk appetite, if you say that, hey, that's a range that has not been broken for a while now. So given this is happening on a higher than usual volume, maybe there is something special. But I don't think it's a good risk reward ratio here. as compared to the tight base that you have observed here. So that's definitely one that may require some additional analysis. Every trader should have an archive of those. You should have at least hundreds of these setups just to gain some confidence. Yeah, this one we marked yesterday. I was able to get a nice position in here. So let's see how it plays out for today. That's a setup I typically like very much. So if you see nice few quiet days with tight ranges, near a recent high range, that normally speaks a lot about the strength of the potential move. Nobody's willing to sell. There are no sellers here. Some minor days digesting the latest move, which in this case has been substantial. But it's a very small cap. I would not be able to. I wouldn't be a fan of entering this stock. It's a pattern that if it was in a better sector or a hot steam, I would very well be looking to enter. Yeah, this one is setting a range, but not too big of a fan. Quite random. You want to have this tightness rather than such drops. Yeah, that's a hot name in a hot team. Nevertheless, the stock has been rather cute, but maybe it gains strength at some point. In which case, I would be looking to enter. Yeah, there is still a serious lack of potential setups for breakouts or momentum bursts. Charts are nowhere near being tight, which is to be expected. Although the VIX never really exploded, so you could argue it's expected or not. That's a good setup. That's definitely something I'll be looking to enter. Actually, this one shook me out. Fly, I think I entered here on the open here. I entered with a stop loss previous day, and then it shook me out for basically on this level, and then it trended down for the next 2 days. I never re-entered, but that's a very strong setup. Again, you have the two inside days, especially compared to the market. So that is something that deserves attention, depending on how it opens, or maybe even pre-market. Let's see how it moves. Yeah, that's a good setup. Actually, the breakout was already here, but it's still worth chasing. Very strong team. Ideally, you'd like it to be a bit more tight, but nevertheless, this one would have room to run if it manages to catch momentum. This one you could argue looks good. You have the rising lows, trending on the 50, touches the 50, goes up. The high ADR, relatively small cap. Still on the volume side. deserves to be tracked. Yeah, Indo showing some room after it broke the range. Just chasing the trend. Same pattern here. You have nice two outside days near a range high, so at least it deserves a follow, if not only for the team. If it could base around this level some here and then run, that would be ideal. Okay, this chemical company is maybe interesting to follow. Let's see if it bases here around the 20-day and then has room to run. It has already shown a lot of relative strength compared to the market. So whenever things become a bit more bullish, it could definitely show another leg. Yeah, it's a good looking setup, but the volume here is just non-existent. Okay, NIO showing what it should be showing. Came back to the range. Let's see if it can keeps it and has a few quiet days, and maybe then it could finally start a run. Volume has picked up. So let's see how this one progresses the next couple of days. Yeah, good looking setup. Strong base, rising highs, good risk reward, two inside days near the top. Let's see whether this one has the potential to be a good runner. Looks well on the weekly. So if this one manages to break, maybe I'll be looking to right. Yeah, block shook me out yesterday. It actually broke the low. Maybe I was a bit too strict with that low, 245, 244. I just didn't want to give it room to hurt me. Especially that it did touch the lows twice, right? Um, Maybe I could be looking to re-enter. I see that it's already somewhere there pre-market. Let's see if it can come back and then run. Yeah, nothing really special, right? Most of the charts are looking quite random. Yeah, that's one which I entered yesterday. Was cautious with the close, didn't close it while it breached the low, but I was a bit more hesitant to keep this one. It's well above pre-market, but it follows the same pattern. So after a near a range move, you have 2 solid days. So let's see how it progresses the next couple of days. This one I entered yesterday as well. Um, it's definitely a good looking setup. Rides the 50-day, definitely showing relative strength as compared to the market. Trend is upwards. Managed to break the small range, so let's see how it opens for today. But that's definitely a pattern that deserves attention and needs to be studied. You have the first leg, then you have a bounce toward the 50, immediately rises up, tries to break out again. Here it's where kind of the market started experiencing some weakness, and then again broke the 50, back above. So next time it goes up, maybe this one has room to run. Yeah, unfortunately, this one shook me out here. It was one of the good movers. I entered here, had some nice profits along the way. Managed to collect, but here it's where it shook me out. Yeah, I gave up to the market panic. In a hindsight, I should have left the half exposure which I had at the time to run a bit more, but I didn't want to have any naked longs with all the political tension out there. All right, that wraps it up for today. So a couple of new additions to the watch lists. Um, let's see what we have for today. Thank you.